Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at parallel lines that have been cut by a transversal. Okay, so two things that we're going to see here. We have parallel lines, and this line and this line are my parallel lines, and we have a transversal. So this right here is our transversal. So whenever this happens, when we have two parallel lines that are cut by a transversal, we're going to have special relationships between the angles that are formed here. So we can see that we have two clusters of angles. We have 4 angles here, and there's 4 angles down here. Each of these angles have a direct relationship, okay? And each pair of angles are either going to be congruent or they are going to be supplementary. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So the first type of angle that we're going to look at are alternate interior angles, okay? So whenever we say alternate, okay, that alternate is in reference to the transversal. So it means they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So one example of alternate interior angles would be angle 3 and angle 5. Okay, those would be alternate interior angles, okay, because they're on alternate sides of the transversal and they're inside of the parallel lines. So angle 3 and angle 5 is one example. Another example would be angle 4 and angle 6. Okay, so those are two sets of alternate interior angles. And something that we always know about alternate interior angles is they are always congruent. Okay, so know that these angles are always the same. So you should be able to identify these angles, and you should know that they are always congruent. Another relationship that we're going to see are alternate exterior angles. So alternate means opposite sides of the transversal, and exterior is going to mean they are outside of the parallel lines. So one example would be angle 1 and angle 7. Those would be alternate exteriors. So angle 1 and angle 7. Another pair of alternate exterior angles would be angle 2 and angle 8. Okay, so you should be able to identify angles that are alternate exterior, and you should know that they are always congruent. These angles are always going to be the same as each other. So 1 is the same as 7, and 2 is the same as 8. All right, another relationship we're going to have are corresponding angles. And what we know about corresponding angles is that they are congruent. So corresponding, whenever we say corresponding, it means they're in the same place as another angle. So if I look at this cluster right here, okay, and I focus on angle 1. Angle 1 is the top left of this cluster. Down here, angle 5 is also the top left angle. So angle 1 and angle 5, they would be corresponding to each other because they're really in the same place. So 1 and 5 would be corresponding. Okay, so another set of corresponding would be 2 and 6. Okay, and then we also have angle 3 and angle 7. And then we also have angle 4 and angle 8. Okay, so corresponding just means that they are in the same place, okay? Either top left, top right, bottom left, or bottom right, okay? Another relationship we're going to have are same side interior angles, okay? So same side interior would mean they're on the same side of the transversal. So 3 and 6, they would be on the same side of the transversal, and they are inside of the parallel lines. So angle 3 and angle 6, and then we also have angle 4 and angle 5. Okay, so be able to recognize those and know that these are going to be supplementary. These angles are always going to add to make 180 degrees. There's no way they can be congruent because they don't even look the same. Okay, so they are going to be supplementary. So I would add those together and I would expect to get 180 degrees. Okay, sometimes you're going to see these referred to as consecutive interior angles. So just know that same side interior and consecutive interior, these mean the same thing. Okay, so we're saying the same thing if I say either of those. Okay, these angles are always going to be supplementary. Okay, so a review from last week, we talked about vertical angles. We do see vertical angles here. Okay, remember, vertical angles are always created by two straight lines that intersect, and these vertical angles are going to be across from each other. So 1 and 3 would be vertical angles. And then 2 and 4 are also vertical angles. We also have angle 5 and angle 7. And then we also have angle 6 and angle 8. Okay, and just like last week, vertical angles are always going to be congruent to each other. Okay, so we have 4 sets of vertical angles. And also, similar to the previous lesson, we're also going to have linear pair angles. Okay, and linear pair, just like last week, they were always supplementary, and there are going to be a lot of these. So right here, we could say that 1 and 2 is a linear pair because they form that straight line there. So angle 1 and angle 2. We also have angle 2 and 3. They are a linear pair. We also have angle 3 and 4. And then 1 and 4 are also a linear pair. And then there's going to be 4 more on this bottom cluster that we have down here. So angle 5 and 6 are also a linear pair. Okay, 6 and 7 are a linear pair. And then 7 and 8 are going to be a linear pair. And then also 5 and 8 will be a linear pair. Okay, so just like last week, these are always supplementary. And these can also be referred to as adjacent angles. So sometimes you'll see the word adjacent. Adjacent just means these angles are right next to each other, which we see that. And they're also called a linear pair. So know those 2 terms. So let's check out some examples. So find the angle indicated below. Okay, so these are same side interior angles. We know that these are going to be supplementary. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put an X right here. And I know that since these are supplementary, X plus 105 must be equal to 180. Okay, so now I just need to subtract 105 and I get X is equal to 75 degrees. So that is going to be the measure of my missing angle because these two have to add to make 180. Here's another example. Here I have a linear pair, okay? Because these two angles, they are forming this straight line that we see here. So these should also add to make 180. So I know that 45 plus X is equal to 180. If I subtract 45 from both sides, I end up with X is equal to 135. Okay, so that is the measure of my missing angle here. Sometimes we're going to have to solve for X. Make sure you read the instructions here. This one's asking us to solve for X. okay? And what I know about these two angles is that they are corresponding. So since they are corresponding, I can set them equal to each other. So I have 16x minus 1 is equal to 15x plus 5. Okay, so I'm going to move the 15x to the left side, and that's going to give me x minus 1 is equal to 5. And then we're going to add 1 to both sides, and we end up with x is equal to 6. And that is it there, since we are being asked to solve for x. Another example, again, this one is asking us to solve for x, okay? And since these are same side interior, I know that these two angles should add to make 180. So I have x plus 96 plus x plus 102 is equal to 180. Okay, so combine your like terms, x plus x, that's 2x. 96 plus 102, that's going to be plus 198. Okay, and there's still 180 on this side. We're going to subtract 198 from both sides and get 2x is equal to negative 18. Divide by 2, we get x is negative 9. Okay, it's okay for x to be negative, okay, but it's not okay for our actual angle to be negative. So if I was actually finding the angle and I plug these x's in, those angles would end up being positive because both of these numbers are bigger than 9, okay? Okay, here's one more example, and make sure you read the instructions here. It says find the measure of the angle in bold. So we want to find the measure of this angle. And what we know about these two angles is that they are alternate interiors, so they are going to be congruent, so they are equal to each other. So 11x minus 5 is equal to 10x. Okay, so we're going to subtract. Let's subtract 10x from both sides. That gives me x minus 5 is equal to 0. And then add 5, we get x is 5, okay? But we're not done there. We want to find that missing angle, which is equal to 10x. So if x is 5, 10 times 5 is equal to 50. Okay, so this angle right here is 50 degrees, okay? And then also, if they're both the same, this angle is also going to be 50 degrees, okay? So that's it. Make sure you can identify each of these angle relationships. Make sure you know what corresponding is. Make sure you know what alternate interior, alternate exterior, and same side interior. And then also make sure you remember vertical angles and linear pair angles, okay? Please check out the assignment on Canvas. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.